Sheeran.
Oh, and just wait. We got 3 or 4 weeks to pop that baby to number
You
one.
think so?
Oh
We
god,
got
yeah.
talk shows, we got performances,
Oh man!
Okay, we're rolling when you guys are
music
ready.
videos.
Cops, I can't believe we're doing this with you again.
I
So
know.
funny.
It's just weird. This one is weird being here.
Uh-huh.
It's weird. Did you say you have speed?
We're rolling.
Okay. So, it's been sort of a crazy 5 years, I think. And I'm curious, each of you, as you were sort of cast, in Catherine Hardwicke's, $35-40 million vampire movie 5 years ago, if you had any inkling of this, and at what point was there a moment, an action, a couple of days, a series, or something where you thought like, oh wow, this is bigger than even what I could have imagined?
I think there were several it just kind of kept, growing in terms of that anticipation of what it might become. It was never the understanding that, hey, it's like, oh, look at this, we're going to be part of this amazing franchise. When we first signed on, it was like doing an independent, kind of different vampire film. And then as we were filming, kind of people started knocking on our doors and, kind of showing up and taking pictures of us. And then there were all these fan sites kept popping up, and then fan fiction, and it was like kind of like, this is way different than every other project I've done in terms of response, and people haven't even seen it yet. And then that didn't even really sink in until the premiere, for me at least, is, like kind of driving up with my family and then seeing this amazing amount of people screaming and all these reporters, and like I was out on the red carpet for like 2.5 hours talking and signing autographs, taking pictures, and it was intense.
I feel like success or something being successful isn't normally so obviously in your face with your ability to connect with fans in person, if that makes sense. Like, you can hear about something being successful and you can say like, oh, the movie made this amount of money, this opening weekend or whatever, and so you have the idea, but it doesn't really feel real until you show up and you can see it and witness this, and that's I think what makes this whole experience so unique is that we've been very interactive with the fans, and we appreciate and know what the role that they've played in the success of these films, and so we've given them, we've tried to give back a lot and spend a lot of time with them. And for me, I remember very specifically the moment I thought like, oh God, this is gonna be something. And it was the first Comic-Con. We weren't invited. It was just the director, Catherine, and Rob and Kristen. And I was watching the news at home, and I think it was Rob that got out of his car, and I remember the news anchor was trying to interview him or someone, and the screaming was so loud that it was distorting the microphones. And I just thought like, wow, that's for our cast? Like, that's for these people know about the movie? It happened overnight. When we were filming the first movie, there was a very exclusive, fan club or, group, and they only interacted with us online, but they didn't show up anywhere. And so I definitely had that moment of like second guessing myself and saying like, no, this can't be for our movie. This is, someone's playing a joke on us, And I still feel like, not to ramble, but we experienced that same emotion as each film unfolds. I don't think any of us have ever had a moment that was like, we can do whatever in this and it'll be successful. We've always felt like the desire to please the fans and work really hard for them.
Tell me a little bit, both of you. Let's start with Rosalie. Tell me about Rosalie's sort of arc from where you start in the first movie to where you get, and do you feel a sense of sort of satisfaction, completion, having been able to sort of do one, take a break, come back, say, oh, I wish I could have done this different, and do you feel you got to take her on a full journey?
Oh, the beauty of being an artist, we all have regrets about performances at different points in time, and you have to just remember that is, what did someone say to me when I was recording last month? That is a photograph in time, and you have to be able to walk away from whatever you did and move on and appreciate that performance sort of isolated. One of the most challenging things about playing Rosalie has been knowing personally who she is and all that she's capable of and where she's coming from. And Stephanie really wrote some very multifaceted, dynamic characters, and there's so much depth to all of them, and so there's definitely been some frustrations along the way, I feel, in not being able to explore all sides of who you're playing, and almost feeling defensive of your character, you know, or how people are perceiving her, or, you know, and only having a moment to relay whatever you're trying to relay in that scene. And I I'm really happy that we made it to the place we did and that we got to complete these. As for Rosalie, I mean, I'm really happy that I got to show that side of her, the more vulnerable side, the more sensitive side. And also, I found it really fascinating to watch how the fans closely associate you with whoever you're playing, and it's very subconscious, and I've experienced, now that this is all over and I've seen both sides of it, I've experienced the fans sometimes treating me like I was an outcast when Rosalie was the outcast of the family, or, you know, creating dynamics amongst us personally that didn't necessarily exist, but it's because it was what was happening with our characters. And now, inversely, playing someone who's on the side of the protagonist, now having the fans actually accept me a little more, and so that's also been really, especially because I was so young too in this whole thing, hard for my mind to grasp that, I think.
And Jackson, what about you? I mean, you got 5 years to sort of tell this tale, and I know, interestingly for you, both of you had Eclipse was your big.
Yeah.
To me, you learned all about your backstory. You learned all about your backstory, and now you sort of get to like realize, I guess, who they are.
Yeah, it's interesting, you know, like whenever I look for the characters that I want to play, I always look for development. I look for an arc. Playing a flatline character is the most boring thing I could ever imagine, and I've done it, and I don't like it. With Jasper, I looked at it, and I looked at the series of the books, and there's an opportunity to show a character who's really a part of the landscape that really kind of helps the narrative form of this young girl kind of falling in love and getting swept up in this world of vampires. And you know, Jasper comes into play as kind of like this certain side of the vampire, kind of like straddling the line, so to speak, of being the new vegetarian vampire way of life, with that kind of animalistic feral urge to drink human blood. And then to go from that to kind of like New Moon, where he almost kills her, and then Eclipse, where we get to see a little bit about his backstory, and then finally here Break of Dawn, where he's almost relaxed. It was nice, and it's really nice to be able to make choices in the first film and know that you can justify those choices later. That you can show people, be like, this is the reason that I chose for him to stand this way. It's the reason I chose for him to have these certain kind of awkwardly painful expressions on his faces. And I those were all choices that I made on Twilight that I had to kind of, you know, own and describe and understand, like explain to people over the course of the next films. I mean, you know, it's an interesting development with that character, and you know, I've loved playing Jasper over the years, and you know, I'm just really grateful for, you know, Stephanie and her writing, for, you know, to be able to step into a character so lush as I was able to do with Jasper.
Do either of you have a sort of favorite moment from this last movie?
From this last movie, oh man, I do have a couple. You know, there's a really beautiful scene. I was just actually telling Nikki that she has, where she's outside with the little baby, and she's, you know, having this expression that, of all the movies that I've seen, it's the most similar to Nikki's actual personality that I've ever seen in these films. It's like you actually get to see a little bit of who Nikki Reed is in Rosalie for the first time, I think, and that was a beautiful moment that I really loved. And then there's the ending that Bill Condon put together. Being a part of this series over a large part of my life, over half my life as a professional actor, it was amazing, and it was really nice, and I felt honored and humble at the same time.
You?
You know, I haven't seen the movie.
I forgot, I thought you saw it yesterday.
I know, I haven't seen it. But I was, you know, I from filming, I feel such a weird connection to I guess it's just called being maternal, but I really love babies and I love children and I love being around them and filming with Mackenzie Foy is just it just shouldn't be underrated. That's all. She's so talented, but such a professional and such a child at the same time. Such an innocent, naive child, a normal child, and so I've loved every second of working with her, and of course the rest of my cast.